Welcome to the Crown City Podcast. I'm your host, James De Pietro. From Pasadena, California, this is a show dedicated to building a more connected and engaged community, one conversation at a time. I'm proud to welcome and introduce Betty and Rob Poquez, the proud owners of Bricks Minifigs Pasadena. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, thank you. And I have to preface that we had some technical issues before it. We worked them all out. So Rob and I are going to be yelling at each other, so which is makes the conversation a little more exciting.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd start off with a little bit about your backgrounds, your individual background. So maybe, Betty, we can start off with you.
Sure. So I went to school for psychology and sociology at UC Irvine. I thought I wanted to be a psychologist, but then I discovered industrial organizational psychology at my last semester at UCI and kind of pushed me into going to grad school for IO psychology and studying like org behavior. And that's kind of the path I went to just to try to help like companies and employee performance. And so right after grad school, I found a job at SoCal Gas, and I've actually been there for 14 years, eventually becoming their learning and development manager. And that's kind of my short career in a nutshell.
So did you grow up locally?
Yes, I actually grew up in El Monte, so I'm pretty familiar with the area, and going to Irvine wasn't too far from it, so still pretty much a Southern California, my whole life, yeah.
Nice. Rob?
I originally went to UC Riverside. I wanted to go there because they had a great business school. That's kind of where I was originally headed towards. And then after a couple classes, and I'm like, this is really not fun. I mean, not for me. Like, there were more exciting things to do. And I'd always kind of loved film and TV, and I switched majors kind of midway through my junior year. So I moved over to their film and visual culture program and kind of had fantasies of being a writer, director in Hollywood, and kind of finished that program and then moved home. I'm originally from San Francisco. And after that, I kind of for I guess I could say I bummed around for a year, kind of doing some odd jobs, and then there was a great opportunity to move back down to LA, and I kind of started my career, moved to Los Angeles, and worked at NBC Universal for the E channel, and then that kind of was the springboard for my career, and then from there I've worked everywhere, pretty much every cable and TV network. I've long run at NBC Universal through their channels, E, G4, Style. Worked at Viacom on MTV, VH1, Comedy Central, Spike, did some advertising and marketing work, and then I kind of found myself over at Netflix, where I'm currently going to be going back to.
Very nice. Well, how did you both meet?
We met online dating, though the most digital way to meet somebody. So we met on eHarmony.
Yeah, Rob was actually my first match, and yeah, we met up for coffee at Intelligentsia in Pasadena. That was our first date. And yeah, kind of just we're coming up actually on our 10-year wedding anniversary in November. So it works.
And it's the first match, which is very
Yeah.
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 It works very well. So we met a couple months ago when you were putting the store together.
Mhm.
So I think I came across Instagram that you were kind of announcing that you were opening the store. And I reached out, and so we met, and you showed me the space before all the cabinets were in, which the store looks great now. It looked great, but it looks wonderful now. And you mentioned that you had a Pixar-themed wedding.
Yes.
So can you talk about that? Because that sounds amazing to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we just want our wedding to be like a celebration of everything that we love and that we're passionate about, and kind of sharing that with our friends and family. And, Pixar, and I think all things Disney, like all of the companies, from Pixar to Marvel to Star Wars, are kind of really important to us. For our wedding, for our cake topper, we used kind of a little Funko Pop. So we had a Wally and Eve. Betty made a little top hat for Wally and a little veil for Eve, and that was at the top of our wedding. Instead of a guest book, we did a poster. So it was an up poster with the house. And instead of signing a book, we had people sign a little balloon, and they got to put the balloon on the poster. And it was just, we wanted to do that because we knew we could hang up the poster, but what do you ever do with like a guest book signing? So we wanted to, have it be a reminder, and it's in our living room to this day. And yeah, and we also had a mailbox. We made like from up the little mailbox, the Carl and Ellie one, but we did Rob and Betty and our little dog.
Oh yeah, our dog is named Ellie, and so we had her paw print also on our mailbox.
Yes, both our handprints and Ellie's paw print, and then just left it out for people to kind of write little notes and postcards for us, throughout the wedding. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
I love the poster idea because I think we had a guest book and I don't even know where it is.
Yep.
And no one looks at it. No one remembers who was there.
Yep.
Other than pictures. So I love the poster idea.
Yeah.
So who are some early mentors that either of you had growing up that were especially important to you and why?
Oh, that is a tough question. I think for me, there was a lot of family and friends support that been supportive and influential in my life. But I think for more recently, in terms of like taking me down this career path, have been a lot of former managers of mine, especially when my time at SoCal Gas. That's been my home for 14 years, but I've had a lot of great managers that have inspired me, like from Mo Mutan, Crystal Enzi, and most recently Abigail Nishimoto. Like she helped push me to pursue this new venture. And what kind of boss does that, to like have somebody leave? And not that I was not a good performer, but she saw my passion in it and encouraged me to pursue that. And so that was just, a great to have a boss do that. That's mine.
Oh man, I've had so many great people, especially in the industry. You run the gamut of individuals, and I'm very blessed that my first boss was the producer for the Star Wars prequel. So my first job in the industry was being a PA at Lucasfilm, and I got to report to Rick McCallum, the producer of Star Wars, and he was he's a very unique personality. So he was a great example in some ways, and maybe not as great in others. But the one thing that he really taught me that kind of instilled in me was, hard work, and kind of rewarding your employees. If someone works really hard for you, you give back as much as you can. And like to this day, I can still send him an email, and it's been 10, 15 years since I've talked to him, and he'll reply. I just emailed him 6 months ago and just kind of caught up. And he's just been a great mentor and advisor in my life. In my early career, I had a bunch of great producers who kind of took me under their wing and taught me how to work in the industry. Great producer at E, Rael Tenian, and over at G4, Shannon Hall and Ryan Vance kind of really introduced me to the industry and what you needed to do and how you needed to act and be to be a success in the industry. And I think one of the agencies I worked at, I was at an agency called Buddha Jones, and the head of games there who I worked with, his name was Carson, and he might be one of the most creative and energetic people that I've ever worked with. And just watching how he worked with clients and kind of helped them realize their vision, a vision that they didn't even know they really had, but kind of just extracting the themes that different companies wanted to show in their work, was just a great example. And then just also my parents too. Like my parents were immigrants, and they couldn't always do what they wanted to do. They did what they needed to do to kind of survive. So just having an example of a really high level work ethic, and doing what you needed to do for your family has always been kind of like inspiring, kind of, knowing what I needed to do when we started a family. Like you kind of have to give up certain things for yourself to be able to provide for everyone else.
Great role models.
Yeah.
So let's dive into Legos. And Legos weren't a part of your lives growing up, is from what I understand.
That is correct. At least for me, I did not touch a Lego until the pandemic. And then Rob.
I've always loved the concept of Lego. It wasn't something that my parents provided or that we had the means to do, but I always liked playing with my friends' Lego. I had like maybe one set and like a base plate and a bucket of bricks. But I always appreciated the creativity of it. And I think when I was in college, they came out with a set, and this is kind of what started my path down the Lego economy. It was the Voltron set. And I grew up watching Voltron as a kid. And the fact that they made this out of Lego, I thought was really cool. I went to the Lego store in Glendale when I was in college, and I just wanted to look at it. And the price tag was, I couldn't afford it back when I was in college. And when I graduated and I had the means to get it, I went back, and then I'm like, oh, it's gone. And then like the employee's like, oh, Lego sets retire, and like they go away. I'm like, I had no idea. I thought it'd be on the store shelves forever. And that kind of introduced me into the collector side of Lego. And it wasn't until recently that I actually got it, probably last year. But it was always kind of in my mind as something like, connecting me to my youth and kind of tapping into like the creative side and just like the collector side of me as well.
So you have a great story about how you got into Legos during the pandemic. Can you kind of share how Legos kind of came into your life again when we went all into lockdown?
Yeah, well, to go back, I was told from other moms that you don't want Lego in your house. They like you need to save your feet by not bringing them in, and because lots of horror stories of how painful they are, and yeah, I really didn't have the desire to have that until the pandemic hit, and we were doing everything we could to keep the kids entertained because we still had to work at home. And so we did Play-Doh, all of that stuff, and we eventually ran out of activities. And one of our neighbors on our Buy Nothing group was offering, some free Lego. And like, let's give it a shot. We need something to entertain these kids. And yeah, so it was just random mixed Lego, and we eventually started just building with them. Like, well, this is pretty cool. And then we fell down the rabbit hole of like, let's get more. And then that was the slippery slope from there until we were like, oh, they make, themed Lego like Disney, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, or Spidey and His Amazing Friends. And we just realized that they have some creative stuff out there. And yeah, when we started getting a lot of Lego.
Yeah. It was amazing to watch them grow and develop because they were 3 and 5 at the time. And like our 5-year-old, was starting to be able to kind of build stuff. And then he would start taking them apart and start to build his own things. And our little 3-year-old, she would take apart all the heads and she'd like want to wear them like as earrings, or she'd make like little necklaces, and like the creativity that you saw them and kind of helping particular 3-year-old with their fine motor skills. It was just a great thing for their development, and like they enjoyed it and we'd enjoyed doing it with them. It was just a great bonding thing for all of us.
Yeah, I think the most fun part of it is when they take the set apart. I mean, as someone that wants this organization, you hate it.
Yep.
Because you're like, you built this, keep it together so you can play with it. But what they enjoy the most is taking it apart and building their own thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I have like a million sets that my son has that they will never probably see their original set design again.
Yeah.
But it's fun, and he enjoys it that way. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Even yesterday, I sent a video of Betty, and like my son was so proud. He made a Lego city, and our daughter was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present you with Jordan's Lego city." And then Jordan walked us through like the whole city. It was great. Like it was amazing.
So how did Bricks and Minifigs kind of work its way into the picture?
Yeah. So when we were discovering that Lego made, Disney lines and, all, and you mentioned that we're Pixar fans, we uncovered that Lego made a Wall-E set. But since they retired stuff, we're like, how are we supposed to get this now? And so we were doing research to see, who would still have it. And we came across a store called Bricks and Minifigs in Ontario. They had it there. We don't know what a Bricks and Minifigs is, but let's go check it out to see, because we knew it was pre-owned, but what did that mean? We don't know. And so we went there, and we were just in awe that a place like this exists, because one, you can find sets that had retired, but it was just, they had a little Duplo table for our kids to play while we got to shop. It was really fun experience for us to kind of just check out everything, see all the different things that they had and things we never really knew existed about Lego. So it was just a fun experience for us.
Yeah. And it turned into a very dangerous habit, because once we discovered there's one in Ontario, we started looking for other ones. Like, oh, there's one in Fullerton. Oh, they're opening one in Irvine, right? And so it got to the point where we would go to like 2, maybe 3 in a weekend. We would do like a little road trip, because our kids were also still napping at that time. So you needed like a good hour and a half. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's all time. It's really important. It's like it saves everyone's sanity, and they're so much better in the afternoon after they nap. So that kind of just went into it. It's like we would go to Irvine first, because that would be like a 15-minute drive, and they would get their good nap. We would go, we would look, we would shop, and then we'd kind of work our way back to like Fullerton, and then maybe Whittier, and then maybe stop someplace for dinner and then go home. So it was kind of a good way to kind of do something, be active. And then also, this is still slightly the pandemic, where it's like, you're kind of controlling the people that you're around, and trying to be in smaller spaces and not be in like, Disneyland where you're elbow to elbow with a lot of other people.
So when did you make the decision to move on from your jobs at SoCal Gas, and where were you at Robert at that time?
I was working a contract with Netflix.
Okay, Netflix. So you're at Netflix and SoCal Gas. So what was the spark that said, let's open a store? Because some people will be like, that's a crazy idea, but it's also a wonderful and brilliant idea. So when did that kind of happen?
Well, it did require a lot of research on us to make sure, like, could we actually do this? And is this the right move? Because it is, from going to a stable job with benefits and insurance and all that, it was really scary to make that leap. And when we pitched the idea to other people, we did hear like it's a toy store and in this economy. So we got some reality checks out of it, but with us doing research, I think we've been researching for about a year to make sure like, is this the right fit? And, talking through the idea of like, how would we make this work? We're like, I think we could do this. And, with Rob's support in this venture, I think it was the right move. So it was something that I really wanted to do because like while I liked doing, the work I was doing at SoCal Gas, it wasn't really my passion. I wanted something that I can just really be involved in the community I lived in. And we've toyed around with other ideas of how, like, what kind of business I could run. But when we came across Bricks and Minifigs, we're like, this idea could work for us and also have a great way to really be involved in that community. And yeah, we just took off ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of work just laying the groundwork because, trying to see if the business was viable for the area, any kind of small business venture is tough because you're betting a lot. Like we bet a lot of our savings, and we had to get a small business loan, and just knowing that the work would pay off. And so far we've been really happy with kind of how things have turned out, the response, and how the store looks and everything.
Because you really focus on community. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But,
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're Pasadena residents. The store is in Pasadena. Your kids go to Pasadena school. So I mean, this is your town.
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that you opened the store here as opposed to you were talking about Altadena, but it's similar. But
Mhm.
but you opened the store in the heart of Pasadena on South Lake Avenue. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I thought that we would talk about what kind of lessons did you bring from your unique careers into the store? Because Betty, you came from organizational development kind of standpoint, and Rob, you came from kind of post production and creative on the creative side. So what kind of skills did you bring to open that have benefited Bricks and Minifigs?
Yeah. So I would say more of, my time at SoCal Gas, like my passion has been really creating learning experiences for employees. And that's kind of how you help retain information you learn the best. It's like crafting that experience to make it memorable. And, that was how I was able to apply that thought into this business of like, what kind of experience do I want to create for customers? And, what do I want them to get out of it? And so really being intentional about how we lay things out, how we, engage the community and things like that. So that was a big driver. And the other part of it was, sustainability. Like SoCal Gas was a big part of how I learned about sustainability and like the idea of, reusing Lego that has been pre-loved. It speaks to me, and to really be able to hone in on those concepts and apply them. It's been, I think, what skills I was able to leverage in my time.
And then for me, it was, and this is also why me and Betty worked together really well. We approach things from completely different perspectives. Like, from my production and marketing background, we were very collectively conscious of the image of our store. It's a franchise. There are a lot of things that are kind of set in stone, but there's a lot of leeway in how we wanted to present our store, the image, the quality of it, particularly how it was marketed was a big passion for me. Like, I have worked behind the scenes on so many different marketing campaigns, but this was me kind of being on the front end of things. Like I'm used to creating the content for other brands. So I actually got to lead a whole marketing campaign for a grand opening, which was amazing and scary and terrifying and all of the above. But it was kind of looking at what was being done and thinking like we could do this better. We could do it differently. We could do our own spin on it. And we were very happy with how we kind of have been marketing our store and the people that we've been connecting with and the people who've been able to find us.
So, Betty, you mentioned sustainability, and I didn't really make that connection in that Legos are very sustainable in that they're recycled.
Yeah.
No one really throws them away.
The-
They end up in a bin, and then people have to figure out what they want to do with them. And they can bring them to your store,
Mhm.
is one option. But can you talk about what kind of offerings you have at the store in terms of new kits, used kits? How does that kind of work? Like you said, it was kind of a trial by error in terms of going into the store, not knowing what it was
Yeah.
about. Can you talk about what a customer can experience when they come in?
Sure. Yeah. So we are a authorized Lego retailer, so we would carry, some of the new in box sets that you would find, at Lego and Target. But our bread and butter is the used sets, the bulk pieces, because it's from the community. So when they've outgrown their sets or the Lego that they have, they can bring it into our trade counter, and they could either, get store credit or cash for their Lego, and they can use that store credit for anything in the store. And it's just such a great way for people who've outgrown their sets or moving on for something else or changing themes, and get something new from our store. And so, yeah, you can find anything from loose Lego pieces. So if you're looking for that one piece that you need to complete something, or, just seeing what's there and be inspired and creating something new from that, and just, grabbing the pieces you want. Or you can find like sets that are pre-owned that, have retired, and you can no longer find. That's how we found Wally. And so people can come to the store, and there's always something new and different because the inventory changes so much based on what the community brings in. And so there was just, yeah, we always encourage people, like, whatever you see today may not be here tomorrow or the next time you come. So it's definitely worthwhile to come checking out, the store, because it's always different.
Yeah. It's very different than a regular toy store or a Lego store, because they have the set, the set products on the shelves.
Yep.
But like you said, there's such a turnover of your not product, but of your inventory, that it makes it a very unique experience every time you walk in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, every day is different, and that's kind of like the fun, exciting thing about our shop, is that we never know what's going to kind of come in from the community. Sometimes some amazing, really rare sets come in, and we have to pull our staff away. We're like, all right, there's other things to do. We can't just look at all the cool things that are kind of coming in, but just being able to, see them, experience them, it scratches a great collector itch. And if you love different IP like Star Wars or DC or Marvel, you'll see some really great sets every day, all the way from like the early 70s to the present day. Like we have sets from just about every era in our store right now. So it's fun to educate people on some things that they may not have ever heard of, or like to be able to see sets that you've only kind of seen online or seen pictures of, actually being able to see it and hold it and touch it.
Why do you think Lego has such appeal to both children and adults? Because I'm an adult, I enjoy building them with or without my son.
Yep.
Obviously there's Lego Masters, which is all adults.
Yep.
So what do you think the appeal is for Legos?
It's amazing because Lego is just little plastic interconnecting pieces, but it's so easy to understand, but so difficult to master. And there's just endless possibilities in how you kind of combine them. The thing that we marvel the most about is that you can make almost anything out of Lego, and things that you don't expect to be able to make. Like our favorite line, or one of our favorite lines right now, is the botanicals. You can take little square round pieces and make it look like a bouquet of flowers, and like they're beautiful. They're almost like a little work of art. You can take them and you can turn it into art, like a Mona Lisa or a Starry Night with other sets that they've made. Or you can go to a galaxy far, far away and be able to play with a Death Star in your hand, or a Millennium Falcon. Like the possibilities are only limited by like the human capacity for creation. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And I like to add, like, while it does feed a lot into that creativity aspect of it, like what we've heard from customers too, is that it's a great way to focus on something, and there's a lot of, keeping their mind sharp and just, having their attention on one thing. Or like some people use that as a stress relief, and just like a hard day and just this practicing mindfulness, on building something that's, just doing that. And, so a lot of people find joy in different ways with Lego. So it's great for that. It's for everybody.
Yeah, I've seen it marketed for adults as a mindfulness tool
Mm-hmm.
at the end of a day and to decompress and focus on something that's a really good point. Um, oh, Jeff, you'll have to edit this out. Sorry. Because I want to do so many different questions I want to ask. So your shop is located at 350 South Lake. So how did you select that location for the shop?
That one, it's funny because when we were doing our year-long research, we were just scouting locations in Pasadena, and the Colonnade was one of those that was up for consideration. But we didn't look into anything until after we had joined the franchise, and they presented with a lot of different options, and the Colonnade was still on that list. And we're like, okay, it's still available. We just loved the high ceilings, the many windows, and having that street view of the space. But we wanted to do our due diligence and see what other potential locations were there. And we looked into like Altadena and San Marino. And there was actually a place that was like walking distance from our house. But ultimately, we knew we wanted to be in Pasadena because you mentioned the community and like living and working in where we are at. And we just fell in love with the space. And even though that walking distance convenience could have been the space we were going to be at, there's just something about the colony just speaks to us. And yeah.
Even just the history of what the Shops on Lake used to be, like just becoming familiar with it, that it was kind of like the Rodeo Drive in LA before Rodeo Drive was there. It used to be a district where people came to, and you can kind of see the history there. So just being able to kind of plant roots in a place with that deep history and kind of build something new was very appealing to us.
Yeah, from what I've heard, I live close by to South Lake, and what I've heard is that Old Town is for tourists.
Yep.
And South Lake is for locals.
Yep.
And I think that's true for the most part. So I don't know if you kind of have the same opinion.
100%. When we were kind of scouting Pasadena, there were 3 locations we were really kind of looking at. It was Old Town, Shops on Lake, and kind of by PCC. Like those were kind of a lot of the bigger commercial districts where we thought we get a lot of foot traffic. And we just started to go to the Shops on Lake more often. And what we saw was families. Like it was just a lot of families there, people with their kids, people going out to dinner, people doing some shopping. And even kind of like there is some touristy attractions now there, like with Erewhon. A lot of people want to see what's up with the $25 smoothie. Like they just want to know and all of the Instagram and the buzz around it. So there are a lot of things that kind of intangibly called to us about the space, and it ended up being perfect.
Well, your space is unique in that it used to be Arnold's Jewelers.
Yes.
Which was a family business that was around for 110 years, I think, when it closed in 2020. And so I love that it went from a family business to your family business.
Yep.
So I love the continuity in that. I think it's very special. I think so. There's hopefully special energy in that space.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. The previous owner stopped by like about a month or 2 ago.
Oh, did he?
He did. And he just kind of... I didn't know who he was because he just walked in and he just started looking around and he was kind of like marveling at what the space is. Because, yeah, they were there for over 100 years and it's completely different. Like the shell is there, but they had drop ceilings and they had all of these sub rooms. And, we had like a nice 5-10 minute chat and he was very happy with what we did with the space. And then he's also kind of very happy that he's moved on to doing other things as well. So it was just a very, very pleasant encounter.
We actually had a couple of customers that come in and like, I used to get my jewelry from here. Yeah. Well, now I'm coming here for Lego now. And so it's great that, you can come into the same space for something new and different now.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a very exclusive set, it might be the same price as a piece of jewelry. So I can understand that as well. I think we were in there a month or so ago. we made a deal with my kids that they could get a minifig, and he's like, "Oh, I want this one." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "How much is it?" He's like, "This." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And then I think you said, "Oh, it's the $200 Captain Rex figure from Clone Wars." And I'm like, "No, we're not doing that. I'm not doing a $200 minifig. I'm sorry. I love you very much, but we can't do that. How about an $8 minifig? That's a little more reasonable." What were some of your experiences opening the store? You've talked about kind of the process you went to selecting the location, obviously getting involved with Bricks and Minifig as a franchise. What are some challenges that you experienced and how did you overcome them? In addition to your grand opening, which was quite a shindig as well.
Yeah. Oh man, everything was so hard. Rewarding but hard. I know that we planned for about a year, and then once we signed our commitment to the franchise and then signed the lease for our location, that was a lot of kind of slower work. The moment we signed, it was a dead sprint to get it done. We had a very ambitious date of trying to open on May 4th because of the significance around May the 4th and Star Wars, and we had kind of like some special connections to be able to do something very unique. So the date was there before any reason or forethought was there. We knew we had to hit that date, and it was just so difficult, and we learned so much from like how to get a small business loan to how to build and place fixtures and figuring out a design. All of it was kind of done on the fly, tracking down a contractor to build the space out for us. It's things we'd never really done before. So it was scary and exciting and amazing. And it was probably the hardest thing we've both collectively ever done. I think the closest analogy is like, when you first have a kid, like everything's a bit of a blur. You're up all night, you're doing what you need to do. It's amazing, but it's all just kind of a bit of a haze just to get to the end goal.
So, what was your grand opening like? Because it was quite a production.
Yep.
And from what I understand, my son was sick, of course, so that's why we missed it.
Yep.
You didn't want a kid with 102 temperature walking around the store. But you had a line out the door and around the corner. Is that?
Yeah. We wish we could have taken it in more. Yeah, we heard that it went all the way to the end of the block and around the corner past the Walgreens. So at its height, it was about a 2.5 hour wait to get in. We were we were trying to get people in as quickly and efficiently as possible, but we were just queued up. And then we had a second line for people who were just there to meet Ahmed Best. Ahmed Best was there to kind of sign autographs and meet fans. He's the actor who played Jar Jar Binks and Kelleran Beck in the most recent season of The Mandalorian. So he was in the back of the store signing autographs. He had a dedicated line for him. We had a dedicated line just to get into the store. His line was about an hour and a half. Ours was 2 hours, and it was crazy. People still talk to us about the line almost on a weekly basis. They were like, "Oh, I was here. I stood in that line." And it was kind of an experience. And then just the store owners coming by, just like saying, "Wow, what's all this about?" And it was great that so many people turned out. It was amazing. And everyone was just great and happy and appreciative. Little kids standing in a 2.5 hour line, the parents were actually surprisingly, happy and excited to be a part of the store and experience, what Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena had to offer. It was great.
Well, you're proud members of the Chamber of Commerce. And this is our first, in addition to Paul Little, who's the CEO of the Chamber, you're our first conversation with a member of the Chamber where we hopefully will highlight each month a member of the Chamber as a way to have a collaboration with the business community on this podcast. As a small business owner, I love small businesses. So the more attention that we can give other businesses is I think really important. So why was it important for you to become members of the chamber, and what kind of resources have they given you in opening the store?
Yeah. So one of the big things about opening a store for us was the community, and what better way to learn more about the community than being part of the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce. And so connecting with other businesses and hearing, what things that you should really be thinking about when you open up a business. And it's just been so great. Like, they've been so welcoming, so supportive. They helped us with our ribbon cutting on the day we went, and just the connections we've made, and the networking opportunities and learning about the other businesses, how we can collaborate has been just really nice. Like, I didn't know what to expect going to a chamber, but I been pleasantly surprised and happy and thankful, actually. So
Yeah, the members go out of their way to help support us. And we've had so many other business owners stop by just because they'd met us. We've made a conscious effort to kind of help them as well. If we need help, we kind of want to help support the other local business owners as well. So it's been a great kind of cycle of support all around.
So, but you talked about kind of creating an experience for your customers. What did you want that experience to be like when someone walks in the door?
yeah, just and it's kind of funny because we get that when customers walk in, they just stop at the door and try to take it all in, but you can see that they're processing. It's like, what is this? And they just get so excited when they go to this one place, like, oh my gosh, you have this. And then they get to this other place, like, oh wow, you have that. And it's just so fun to see them get really excited. And, when they talk about like things that they're working on or, things that they're creating, we actually have regular customers that we see all the time. Like, what are you working on now? And are like, and like, they keep coming in, we talk about coming in because our inventory changes. So we see them all the time, like seeing what we have new. They know where to go. And so it's like, we got it. But yeah, it's just been amazing to have the customers talk about the store in such a positive way. Like, I love that you have like this bulk table because we can find pieces that we need for our builds, and having a way to help the customers find what they're looking for it's everything I could have asked for and more. So I don't know if this was the experience I had intentionally created, but we're really happy of how it turned out.
It's a very special place for families in particular because it's something that parents and kids can equally enjoy. And then also it's a bit of like a unique experience for them too, because for children, it's a good way for parents to help them. Like, all right, you don't need these toys anymore, these Lego. Why don't you bring them in and trade them? And they get a bit of a window into what an adult life is. Adult life is because a lot of parents will kind of put their kids at the trade table. They're like, all right, this is what it's like. You talk to this person and you can see what you can get. And we try and make it a very special experience for them. We try and teach them about the value of what they have and the little light negotiating and bartering skills. I have so much fun when a little kid brings in like 5 little minifigures, like, how much can I get for these? And then we end up just talking about it, and I kind of make eye contact with the parents and make sure they're okay with everything. And it's such a unique experience for someone who's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
I'm curious, how does the pricing work? How do you determine the value of a used set or a used minifig?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Okay.
Because it kind of changes on a day-to-day basis. So there's kind of an overall demand, and then there's kind of in relationship to what we have in stock. Certain things, certain minifigures, certain sets, certain lines all have different demand. And it's just kind of finding a happy middle ground where we can either give a customer some store credit or cash, but we in turn can, still have a margin to pay our staff and keep the lights on. So it's a delicate balance, but we try and be as fair as we can all around.
Yeah, because you do HR, you do accounting, everything.
Yep.
So how's that going?
Long days, long nights. You want to take this one?
Well, yeah, it's like even though the store closes, we take work home and to kind of finish out the things that we weren't able to, because sometimes the store gets really busy with helping customers, but there's still like the back end things that we didn't get to in the day. So taking that work home and doing that, it's definitely finding that balance of work will always be there. The next day still going to be there, but finding the right amount of time to make sure, okay, you also need a break. You also need to take care of yourself to be able to take care of your family, and so just kind of being conscious of that, and how we approach work.
It's a very difficult balance.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I understand that. So there's an event space in your the store as well. So what are your plans for the event space? What do you have kind of planned?
Yes. Unfortunately, it's currently serving as a stock room because we have so much stock from the buys from the community, which is great. Like people can they've outgrown their stuff, and so we're happy to make an offer and take it off their hands. But at some point, we want to clear that out and make it a true party space for things like birthday parties or Lego building events and or even corporate team events. It's just a lot of different things that we can do to really involve more of the community. So at some point, hopefully towards the end of summer, we'll have that event space ready. We want to include a derby track where people can, build Lego cars and race them with their friends. Like, we have all the material to do that. We just don't have the space. So we're committed to doing a party room, just trying to make space for that right now.
Exactly. We have 2 different parties who are ready to set up an event in our space. So we're trying to lock those down. They're very excited and they want to announce, and we're working really hard to get the space ready for them. But yeah, it's been a great challenge to kind of have that going.
So what kind of legacy do you want to create with Bricks Minifig for your family? Because it is a family business. You have 2 small children. So what kind of legacy, what kind of example do you want to set by opening Bricks and Minifig that you want to pass along to them?
Hopefully the community aspect, because, we live in this community and we want to help and make an impact on it. And by demonstrating that we are doing that with the stores, hopefully something that they can take away. But, just having them in the store, on the weekends and stuff, it's been really nice because they've stepped into those customer service roles and asked, how can I help you? And helping them bag, their people's purchases and, and understanding the value of their belongings and are they ready to give them up and they're ready to pass it along to somebody else who would love them. So really understanding those concepts to them is just really nice to see that growth. And, Rob, anything else?
Yeah, one of the things that was appealing about the idea was it was something that our kids were very connected to, and because of that, they get to see what work is like. Because previously, especially during the lockdown, it was mommy, daddy on their computers, and that's what they thought work was. It's like, oh, I want to work like daddy. He just sits in front of his computer all day. I'm like, not quite, but being able to be on a floor and seeing their parents work and instilling a work ethic in them just by being able to see, what actual work is in a fun way. And they love participating. They love helping. They love welcoming people into the store. They love helping customers. Yeah.
So one of the show's many goals is to connect people. And so how does Bricks and Minifig bring people together? How have you found in the last 2 months that you've been open? What kind of connection have you made with people, and what kind of connection have you seen people make to each other?
It's been great because the space is a celebration of Lego, but it's also a celebration of creativity and community. So you get people from all walks of life, from specific collectors who are looking for specific lines and toys to families coming in to experience the Lego together, to either buy or sell or trade. And then just people just sharing their love of Lego together. I mean, that's why we wanted to work with a Lego artist to build a really cool Lego built Pasadena sign, one, to support another local artist, but 2, just to celebrate the form and the medium. People stop and just look at our sign now. They're like, is that made out of Lego? Like, yeah, it is. And there's more coming. And so it's just being a place where people can come and share that love with other people.
I'd like to add to that too. There was this story, because I was there when it happened. There was this one little kid, probably around 8 or 9, and then this older kid, probably around 15, 16, and they were hovering around the Star Wars minifigure case, and they were just connecting. They were from different families. I knew that, and they were connecting over the movies. I don't know. I just kind of overhearing they were there for a while. And then when they were leaving, the older kid had given the younger kid a minifigure. And I guess that the little kid was eyeing and talking about and just gushing over. And the mom was like, what is this? And he said he wanted to give the gift to him. I mean, it was just such an amazing feel-good story to see that, an interaction, and then this, kid giving another kid a minifigure that he bought with the intention of giving it to him. So I was That was a feel good story.
It's a special place.
It is special, and it's only been open for 2 months.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine what the next couple of years are going to be like for you.
It's going to be an adventure for sure.
Yeah, for sure. What advice do you have to bring people together based on your experience of the last couple of months?
If you love something, share it with people who love the same thing with you. Go out and find that group. Especially with social media, it's easier to find groups of people. It's also easier to hide behind a phone, a tablet, or computer. But just being in a space with people to share what you care about in a place that hopefully supports that, I think is the best thing you can do. So if you love movies, go watch movies with people. If you love toys, be around toys. If you love Lego, build Lego.
Yeah. And I would say, just in learning about, being in our store is just like, start a conversation around the bulk table. Like, what are you building? Or, when you see a set, because that happens organically at our store when you see someone eyeing, specific set, and then like conversations naturally happen with other customers about that same set, and like, yeah, I grew up with this one, and oh yeah, and then tangent off to the next Lego line, and it's just great to see that happen organically at our store constantly. And so just starting up that conversation, like, what are you building, or like, what are you into, and like, it's such a great conversation starter.
So do you have any insight of like what the future holds for Lego? I mean, because you obviously Lego is your life right now. So and you follow it, I'm sure, religiously.
Mhm.
So what are there any kind of exciting future plans for Lego in the next couple of years? Are you aware of that you can share? Because you have kind of a funny face, so I don't know if you have secret inside information or.
There's certain things that we can't talk about that we
Okay.
know.
All right.
But the future is bright, and I think Lego's done a great job of catering sets and lines to different kinds of fans, and I think they're going to continue to do that. From the 18 plus adult collectors all the way down to like the 4 plus, introductory sets. So I think there's a lot of great things that we've gotten excited for some of the things that are coming down the line too. I wish we could talk about more, but
Understood.
yeah.
I hear you. No, you mentioned the botanicals line.
Yeah.
And for Mother's Day, I bought a set for my wife, and I had my son build it for her. So now it's in our kitchen at our
Yeah.
kitchen table as a bouquet. That's their flowers for on
Yeah.
the table.
Mhm.
It's amazing what they've done.
Mhm.
And it's an 18 plus set that my son, who's 8, did.
Yep.
And he did without any help. And he didn't want me involved at all.
Nice.
And that's what I think the fun thing is, seeing your children develop the skills where
Yeah.
you're building with them, and then they don't need you anymore.
Yep.
And they've outpaced you. So it's kind of exciting to see.
Yeah. And in particular, just with the botanic line, how they use parts to create the illusion of a flower, from like pterodactyl wings being the
The leaf.
leaves, or like car hoods being the petals. It's that stuff just constantly astounds us.
I think there's a surfboard
Yeah.
that's part of it. That's part of one of the flower sets.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And my son's like, oh, this is a surfboard. I'm like, oh, okay. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I love how they repurpose things.
Yep.
And find new creative ideas for the existing parts.
Absolutely.
As you kind of wind down our conversation, when you think about the next year, next 5 years, kind of what are your thoughts and plans for the store, and then for you guys as well?
That is such a tough question, because I feel like, just even 2 months being in this store, it's changed significantly since grand opening. And what's great is like we've been learning about, what works, what doesn't work, and kind of thinking about to what kind of experience we want, to create. And so we're always adapting and evolving, and that's part of the thing when we have regulars come in and say like, oh wait, what you had there was no longer there. And so it keeps people on their toes. But I think we're learning a lot, and so I don't know where we would be in the next year, let alone 5 years. But hopefully, it's in a good space where it still inspires that creativity, brings joy, and yeah, it's really hard to answer that question.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
Oh, do you want to add anything?
No, I think Betty covered that one. It's so hard. We live in the moment and try and just get things done on a daily basis to just keep everything afloat, both as store owners and as parents. I just know that we're going to constantly work hard to build the store and cater it to what the community wants and is asking for. So that part's a joy. Like it's just feeding off the reactions and suggestions of the people that come into the store every day.
That must be really interesting to see the trends like week by week
Yeah,
change
yeah,
of what people are interested in that week.
yeah.
Is it day by day? I mean, are you seeing changes like day by day or week by week?
Almost on micro and macro levels. Like if there is a big anticipated set that's coming out, people will start to be interested in kind of the things that are related to that set. Or if a newer version of something that was built older is coming out, we might start seeing those older sets coming into us because people are going to start clearing the way for wanting the new one. So it's just this great community. Or if a movie is coming out, like
The Minions.
Minions or Deadpool and Wolverine, there's an uptick on interest for Minions and Wolverine and Deadpool. Like it's very much about what's happening in the world. Yeah.
Well, I was amazed going in the store. I didn't realize how many different sets there were. I think there was like a Simpsons set or something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My daughter, a young daughter, likes Groot, and so I found a Groot minifig, which I didn't know they even made.
Yep.
So it's amazing to see just go along the counter space and see all the different sets that people are probably. If you were into Star Wars, you knew the Star Wars sets. If you're into like pirate, I was into pirates as a kid, so I love the pirate sets.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to see all the different lines that they have because it really it's so varied
Yeah.
and it goes through so many different decades.
hmm
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Even just seeing how the builds have changed over time. I think we had a set from the late 70s. It was like an ambulance and a helicopter. And we're like, oh my gosh, like the logo's etched into the plastic. They would never do that anymore. Or like the stickers were spanned across multiple pieces. And you can see how parts and usage and build techniques have changed and the quality has changed, but it all still interconnects. Like a block from the 50s will still interconnect perfectly with a block made today. And at our house, we have like one, like on the back, it says patent pending. Like the patent hasn't even been etched into it, and it just snaps perfectly with a current Lego. It's great.
Well, my sister-in-law got our family a knockoff of something,
Yep.
and I absolutely hate it. It doesn't fit the same way.
Yep.
And I'm like, can we just like secretly take this out of our rotation? Because it is amazing how, like you said, the pieces still fit from decades ago.
Yep.
And they're actually opening up a production facility in Virginia
Mhm.
that's 1.7 million square feet of production space.
Mhm.
And in reading that article, I learned that for every million pieces that are made, there are only 8 errors.
Yeah.
And it shows you the incredible quality of the production
Yep.
that Lego has instilled over since the 1950s. Is it the 50s or 60s? When did it?
I mean, the company, well, from going to the history.
Yeah, deep dive into that.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how the production, how they've fine-tuned the production so well.
Yeah. The fit and finish is amazing. And when you deal with these kinds of parts and pieces as much as we do, you can hold it, you can feel the difference. The plastic is different, the quality is different, the finish is different. So what Lego's been able to do on a production level is astounding because they have to fit perfectly. The margin of error is so small, but they do it so well. And we've never had a piece where there's like hanging plastic or anything like that you see from like some cheaper competitors. It's always perfect, and like each piece is stamped with Lego in multiple places, and it's perfect. It's amazing.
And it's funny when you open up a Lego set for the first time, and you open up the plastic bags, and you're
Now
like,
paper bag.
yeah, and you're like, oh, they missed a piece, and you're like, I could have sworn they missed a piece, and then you realize it's in the bag, it was hidden somewhere. Yep. It's just amazing the precision that they've been able to execute.
And the other thing on top of that is if for some reason you are missing a piece and you email Lego, they will send you that piece.
Yes.
They don't ask for anything. They stand by their products. If you're missing a whole bag for some reason, they'll send you the replacement. The fact that they stand with their product to that level is another amazing thing for them.
Or if you break a piece,
Yeah.
because there are pieces that break because they're the shape or how they're used. They do break sometimes.
Yes.
And they will replace them.
Yep.
We've encountered that
Yeah.
as a family. So as we kind of wrap up this conversation, if you could design a perfect day in Pasadena, from breakfast to late night, what would you do? Where would you go? And what would you eat and drink?
That's so hard.
I love food, so
Yeah, and there's so many places we haven't been to yet, so it's really, really hard to answer that question.
Yeah. I think for breakfast we'd probably start at breakfast burritos because that's just our guilty pleasure. Like probably at Lucky Boy, they just make some great burritos. And then after that, probably hit up Rosebud coffee for after a big heavy meal. You want a little coffee to pick you up. Lunch, Super Burger is just right down the street from us. We go there often. And if we want a little dessert afterwards, maybe Carmela's. Carmela's, great ice cream. For with the kids, we definitely want to hit up Kid Space because they just love being there. And then for dinner, the Arbor is probably our favorite place to go as a family. It's introduced so many things to our kids that they never would have had before. Like our little girl didn't eat meat before. Now she loves steak, like just because she got it at the Arbor. And then if we're lucky enough to be able to drop off our kids with the grandparents, maybe we'll have a drink where?
Foothill?
At Foothill, yeah. Another place, just really close driving distance.
Anything you want to add, Betty?
It's tough because there's so many places and it's really hard to narrow down to one. But in terms of the day, I feel like those are pretty good options.
Yeah.
But oh man, like if I had to throw out some other restaurants, maybe like President Thai or
Yeah.
oh man, I'm drawing a blank now.
Our kids ask to go to Granville all the time.
Yeah.
Love going to Granville. And then just all the places around that we eat regularly, like just for lunch. It's so nice to be on the Shops at Lake because you have so many good options. So it's actually
Cafe.
urban. Yeah, just it's hard to choose where to go for lunch sometimes.
It is. And we have per capita, we have so many restaurants here in Pasadena.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're more opening. There's some turnover, but there's
Yeah.
more opening like on a monthly basis.
Yep.
And so I love to see it.
Yeah.
And I love that you're introducing your kids to the Arbor, which it's a pretty fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
I love it as well. And that your daughter is now eating steak because of it.
Oh, and vegetables because they, make it with that butter sauce, and then because they normally wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, you can't resist butter sauce. I mean,
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
Yeah, and a lot of it's like we'll go there after work, and the Arbor's just so good about letting us sit at the bar. Like we don't have to get reservations. They're very generous to us, so it works out really well.
Well, thank you very much for opening Bricks and Minifigs here in Pasadena and you're in your hometown, for your work to create a community for children and adults like myself and my son, and for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem. It's been our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, that's it.
Mm.
Thumbs up. All right.
Audio okay?
Yes, you are clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
I
thank you
tried
so
to
much.
subtly nudge you.
I need to do the outro. Sorry, I forgot the outro. We'll do it in post. Okay. I got wrapped in our conversation. I forgot the outro. Continuing our collaboration, the featured song is All Right Here by Pasadena's own The Next Doors. Please follow them on social media and at nextdoorsmusic.com. I want to thank everyone here at Pasadena Media, George, Chris, Bobby, Liza, and especially Terry, Bob, Sharon, Jeff, and Jasiri for their special guidance and assistance. For more information about Pasadena Media, please visit pasadenamedia.org. For more information and to support this podcast, please visit thegroundcitypodcast.com. Until next time, as the Danish always say, play well, and I will see you around town.